by her first name, or even all my aunties by their first names. I always attach auntie so and so to the name. So just drop in your comments what you think about these points that I just mentioned when it comes to sign of respect, when it comes to customer service, and especially the Sunday shutdown and the communication style in Germany. What are your experiences and what have you witnessed so far? So then again, I'll go back to a little bit of the storytelling that I was given at the beginning. I emphasized on much more on transportation, on extended families, and also arrival in Germany and weather shocks. So especially with that of the extended families, I find it really, really peculiar also for those of us here just in a nuclear form. I found it really, really difficult to adapt. It took me months, let me say even years to get to the familiarity of just not have no of just not having family of just not having family members around. So I found it difficult, and that is where I also got to get the terms from here homesick, getting homesick, not having family around, not having the closest people around. It kind of also got one me or the other, one way or the other, also kind of homesick. So how do you do it? How just drop in your comments and let's know how you deal with you dealt with your first culture shocks. All right, then we're going on a short commercial break. I have a guest who I've prepared a few questions for, and then we'll delve more into the topic of culture shock once he arrives. So enjoy.
Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Aquaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker Chose 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +49 Email us at info@aquaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.aquabatravelandtours.com. Thank you. Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Aquaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker Chose 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +49 Email us at info@aquaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.aquabatravelandtours.com. Thank you. Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Aquaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, You are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker Chose 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +49 176 416 27723. Email us at info@aquaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.aquabatravelandtours.com. Thank you. Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Aquaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker Chose 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're back from our commercial break. That was Aquaba Travel and Tours here at Vansbecker Chose 15C, where we are at. Also, you would find the studios of Radio Top Africa. So, in case you intend to travel around and you need a consultant for ticketing, just get close to Aquaba Travel and Tours and you will get one of the best customer services. So I will then get close to my guest for today, Mr. Charles. Normally you would see him on the debate on the show on Top Politics, but today I've got hold of him today for culture and diversity to also get his opinion on the topic of culture shock. So, Charles, first things first, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nadia.
Your day is going well so far.
By God's grace, we are managing. We can't complain. Once we have life, there is hope. And I am also glad and happy to appear on your show. And thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity to also share my views on the topic culture diversity or culture shock. So ultimately I'm very glad and I'm elated to be here to share my opinion on this an important topic, especially where we find ourselves, because we are in a foreign land. And exactly so culture diversity or culture shock will certainly set in, if more especially for those of us who grew up in Africa continent, and we've now find ourselves in the European continent. So for an introduction, I would say that we have experienced some, and we are going to go into details of that. And also to once again thank you for offering me the platform to share my views on this topic. You
are most welcome. So as you've already introduced in your intro already, what is one of the most trivial, or let me say, what is one of the culture shock you experienced that like it really, really, really got to you and made you understand that there is a huge difference between the culture you're used to back home and the German one?
Okay, thank you very much once again. And to begin with, as a Ghanaian, I have spent almost 30 years in Ghana before I traveled. And the very first day I touched Deutschland, I realized there was a change in environment, and I expected some of these shocks. But I thought at least it would be for some time before I would experience those shocks. But unfortunately for me, the shock was immediate. And as a result of that, I ought to adjust quickly my lifestyle to suit the diversity in culture in the German enclave. So the first shock that I experienced has to do with how we conduct ourselves socially in Ghana and how the Germans or people living in Germany conduct themselves socially. So if I talk about social life, I'm talking about occasionally, or what we do on our weekends, or what we do on our holidays. And back in Ghana, you realize that mostly on the weekends, people engage in funeral activities, they engage in wedding activities, naming ceremony, and other social lives. These activities, I mean, I would say is distress the person. But unfortunately, when I found myself in Germany, these activities are not rampage. So are not rampant. So once a while you find some of these programs being organized. But back home, almost every Saturday you are engaged in one funeral activity or the other. So this lacuna that I am facing currently in my life is giving me a lot of stress and a lot of frustration. But way back in Ghana, this wasn't the case, okay? So as a matter of fact, I really get very, very frustrated and very, very sad on Sundays, especially because in Ghana, if you don't go to church, you hear people worshiping.
Right.
In your own house, you will be in your house, you hear people worshiping by virtue of the fact that churches are almost everywhere. But unfortunately, that is not the case. That is not the case in Germany. Before you get to know that there is a church service going on in a particular place, unless you travel for 2 or 3 minutes, okay, before you can feel that vibe. So I think this aspect of our life back home, which is missing here, is creating a lot of stress for some of us. And for instance, I'm trying to adjust. Sometimes the thought of returning to Ghana comes in mind, but all well and done, we are just managing, and we are hoping to cope well.
Yeah, and I have an opposing. I addressed you another question. I addressed you as Mr. Charles when you came. This is a form of our respect. But when I came here newly, as a kid, I realized my younger brother would just address his teacher at the Kita as let me say, let me give one name, Renate. And I was like, why is he just using the first name, not teacher Renate or so and so? How was your encounter with you just being someone just calling you Charles? Maybe from a 5-year-old calling you Charles.
Yes, so initially it was somehow embarrassing to me to even see an elderly person or see somebody on the street and not greeting such a person. You know, in Ghana, our culture, oblige, or let me put it this way, our culture makes us to greet people that we meet okay? But that is not the case here. Sometimes you greet somebody and the person looks at you, and if care is not taken, you will feel embarrassed. So that is one aspect of it. Again, in Ghana, when you are giving something to somebody, especially an elderly person, you need to do that with your right hand. So I am accustomed to that practice. But when I found myself in Germany, people just give things to elderly people with their left hands, and it became so uncomfortable for me to do same. All right, but they were so comfortable in doing that. So I approached one colleague of mine and I said, why is it that anytime you are giving something to an elderly person or a colleague or whatever it is, you feel so easy with it, giving it with your left hand? And he said, that is the culture over here. I said, no, where I'm coming from, that is not how we are trained to behave. Again, when it comes to acknowledging people with titles or the right description that fits somebody's status in society or in the family or in the community, they just mention your name and that is okay. But in Ghana, that is not the case. If you are addressing an elderly person or anybody that command some sort of respect around you, you need to address such a person with qualifying adjectives that, I mean, shows respect. But over here, they just mention your name, and that is okay for them. And this is also sometimes if you find yourself in such a situation and you are trying to adjust, you inwardly feel embarrassed that, oh, I am not being courteous, or I am not being respectful to engaging in some of these things.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also encountered it with the hand from left to right. We being used to the Ghanaian culture, it's a disrespect to give your left hand or hand something over to an elderly or anyone else with your left hand. It's just disrespectful, because the left hand, I see it as the foul hand, because we use it for other stuff.
Yeah. And
the right one is, so to say, the pure and the clean one. So that is what we use to greet, to hand things over. And I remember I was having something with my left hand. I needed, because my right hand was busy, and I had to hand something over to a friend of mine, and she is German, and I told her, sorry for using left, and she was like, why? And I said, yes, because in my culture, the left hand is a sign of disrespect. So I had to enlighten her on what it means. In that aspect, I realized how diversified we are in our meanings for what certain stuffs mean, especially when it comes to symbols and simple body gestures.
Yeah. You know, in our part of the world, when you even do that, you can be penalized for that act. All right. So we are always cautious about not getting involved in such things. But unfortunately, the situation in Germany is compelling us to do that, and I don't fault them, because that is the way they live, and it has been accepted by them as the right thing. So if you engage in that, they don't see anything wrong with it. But from where we are coming from, or from where I am coming from, I feel some embarrassment whenever I do that, or some disrespectfulness on my part whenever I engage myself in such an act.
I feel totally uncomfortable when I do that, because I'm like, no, this is not what I'm used to. And
you know, back in the days, even an elderly man can even punish you, not necessarily such a person being your parent or being a relative. Immediately you misconduct yourself in public, anybody at all can reprimand you on the spot.
And I think that is where the term, it takes one person to bring a child to the world, but it takes also a whole village
to nurture such a person. But that is not what we are seeing here. Immediately you engage in that act in Germany, people will be calling in this human rights activist. All right. Yes, human rights, we all know that is a monster, but at a point in time, human rights ought to be limited. If not so, people will be doing things that certainly will beat imagination. So at every point in time, I think human rights ought to be curtailed in some manner.
Okay. And my second question would be, can someone truly feel at home in Germany without speaking fluent German?
Yes, I think so, depending on where such a person finds himself. Okay, if you are a student and you are basically residing on campus, or you are living in student facilities where most of the students speak English, feeling at home will be a bit more easier than somebody who is not living on campus, or who is not living in such a facility. Again, if you also have a situation where most of the people around are Africans, or you find, if you are fortunate to have Ghanaians around you, then you will definitely feel at home. But if you find yourself in an environment where majority of the people are not Africans, or they are not Ghanaians, and you find it so difficult to identify even people who can speak English, it's very, very difficult to assimilate, especially with this German language, which I classify as one of the difficult language to study. If you find yourself in such an environment, living in Germany will extremely be difficult for you. I have a colleague, a mate of mine in Bremen. she unfortunately found herself in an area where about 98% of the inhabitants are Germans. Okay, so she normally leaves her apartment and visit friends and spends nights over there simply because where she finds herself, she is not able to acclimatize with their condition. That is why she moves from where she is to visit friends, at least so that she can have the vibe of communicating with people, and that also releases stress.
Yes.
And if you don't find yourself in such a situation, the stress that you are going to be deviled with is very, very high.
I agree. You're talking about your colleague friend who particularly leaves her place of residence to be with friends just not to feel isolated.
Yeah.
What of those who are just not mingling with, let me say, with different cultures, but are just within, since we're on the Ghanaian field, just within the Ghanaians? What happens to those people who do not embrace different culture or blend with different cultures?
You know, we have the general rule, or what is generally accepted, okay, and we have exceptions. So the general thing is, whenever you are living in a community, you try as much as possible to associate yourself with whatever is around you. Be that
Radio
it may,
Talk
we also have
free
individuals who are what is the word? They don't like associating. They are introverts.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the word. They are naturally introvert people. So such people, they are exceptionals. Okay, no matter what you do, they will certainly isolate themselves. Okay, so such a situation can be looked at in a different angle. But in the generality or the general rule, wherever you find yourself, you ought to associate with whoever it is, because you don't know who is going to be your guardian angel tomorrow. All right. So, in doing that, if you find yourself in an environment that is not accommodating enough, you are going to be stressed up.
Right.
Okay, psychologically, you are going to be stressed up, and you know what role stress can play in one's life, to the extent that it can even lead people to commit suicide and engage in certain vices that are not comprehensive enough. So I think when we are dealing with such a situation, you need to analyze it on case by case, but the generality has to be that wherever you find yourself, you need to associate yourself with whoever you find around.
Okay. And then my last question will be, is actually culture shock a necessary part of growth, or a sign that systems needs to be more inclusive? When we focusing on people who are just within their own culture, when especially with us in the diaspora, and those who blend well, how do these two align with each other or misalign?
I think culture shock has a role to play in one's development. As I indicated, for instance, the food that we even eat in Ghana, we don't find it here. So you can look at the nutritional aspect. If I don't like the food that is being served over here, I am tempted to either starve or to eat certain things that it will be detrimental to my health. Okay, so culture shocks in one way or the other affect the development of a person. Again, the work environment in Germany, if you are working for 8 hours, you will certainly work for all these 8 hours. But in Ghana, if somebody is built to work for 8 hours, such a person may work for at least 6 hours or 7 hours. The other one is to play, to release tension. Okay, so all these factors goes to the development of an individual. So if one finds himself or herself in such a situation, the psychological trauma that such a person will be facing alone is enough to affect his or her physical development. So in Germany, what I have learned is that, or what I have observed so far, has to do with the fact that no matter what the situation, one ought to adjust and one ought to make compromises and adjust as soon as possible. If not so, your physical development may be tempered or may be hindered, and your social growth may also be hindered.
Absolutely. And for a point on that, I actually want to share one fun fact. Yesterday I went shopping for breakfast at Aldi, and then I saw a lady in front of me. She, of course, when you're at the shops here, the price have price tags. You don't debate about it. And there are days where there are special offers.
Yes.
So there was this special offer. The price was shielded as a special offer deal. And she got to the cashier, and the cashier calculated, so the normal price appeared. And she immediately was like, this is not the price that was on the price tag when I picked the article or the item. And the cashier was then in the situation of where he wanted to explain himself. But then the lady opposed again and said, I'm not going to go into a debate with you or negotiate price with you. Just let me pay and go.
Okay.
I was then like, wow, in Ghana, you will not just have even here at the Afro shops. There we have the room, or I would say the effrontery to audacity to also say that, no, I'm not going to pay the price. This is what I saw on the price tag, so I'm not going to pay. What's your opinion on that?
Yes, I think maybe I can say you have gone into the spiritual realm to know that I am a typical victim of this situation.
Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately for me, I went to one of these shops to buy an item, and I saw the price tag. You know, the price tag wasn't on the item. It was on the shelf.
Right.
Okay. So I construed that to be the prices for those items on that shelf, not knowing that item was a misplaced item by a customer. So I just picked the item, went to the cashier to pay, and the cashier gave me the price, and I was like, no, this is not what I saw on the shelf. And he said, but when we keyed in, this is what came. By virtue of the embarrassment that I was going to court for myself, because there were other customers also in the queue to pay, I was compelled to pay for that item, even though I was not prepared. Okay, I was not prepared to pay for such an amount, but because I wanted to avoid the embarrassment or the disgrace, I was compelled to pay. And this happened because that is not the case in Ghana.
Right.
In Ghana, you pick the item. Even most of the shops that we buy from don't even have price tags. So you pick the item, then you start negotiating or bargaining with the seller. Okay, so that has been our mentality all over the years. So when you find yourself in a situation whereby price tags are already fixed on items, you are denied the opportunity of even bargaining in the first place. So you just pick and you go and pay. So comparing these two scenarios, if one is not careful and appreciate the fact that I am in a different society or I'm in a different culture, you end up embarrassing yourself. So that very day, if I had not carried enough money on me, I would have been embarrassed totally, because it would have been that, oh, I don't have enough funds, so just keep it. And people will be, somebody may find it so okay, somebody may not find anything wrong with that. I say, okay, I don't have money, just leave it there. But where we are coming from, of ridiculing and those kind of stuffs, we are compelled to, pay and to save our fees.
Okay, before I leave you, I would like you to actually share in your last words, or key advice you would like to give to those coming, those who are new, and those who are finding it actually difficult after so many years in the diaspora to adapt, especially to the German culture.
Yes, one thing I would tell foreigners or people who are seeking to migrate from Africa to other parts of the world is that they should have self-confidence. They should believe in themselves, that wherever they find themselves and whatever situation they find themselves in, they can maneuver those situations. Because when I came into Germany for the first time, I have never learnt German in any form or shape. But when I came, I was compelled to learn German because that is the official language that is being used here. So I'm forced to learn whether I can or I can't. I'm compelled to learn. And so I took steps to learn the language, and I went into it and I saw that the German language is not as easy as one may think.
Absolutely.
But once somebody has learned and been able to pass, you should bear in mind that you can also learn and pass. So self-confidence is very, very key, and also try as much as possible to have positive thinking, because if you carry this negative thinking along that, oh, I can't, this place is not good, I need to relocate or whatever it is, this attitude will haunt your progress for a very long time, because there is no free lunch in the world. Wherever you go, you think Germany is difficult to stay. Wherever you find yourself, if you don't have that positive thinking, you also find it difficult living there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sir Charles, for coming around and
You're welcome.
for joining on my show, Culture and Diversity, with today's topic, Culture Shock. In a brief summary, we've delved into the issue of Africans, I would say, or foreigners finding themselves in the diaspora and having to deal with culture shock, unfamiliarity on daily habits that are unusual to them back home. We've looked into how much this can affect us psychologically, emotionally, and in our everyday life. So, as Mr. Charles said, this can take us through psychological trauma, and all we need is self-confidence and optimism. So I would leave on these two notes of self-confidence and optimism to address this to, or appeal to anyone who is out there feeling isolated because you find yourself in a cold, foggy, trist, as I said it at the beginning, Germany. Go out there, try and mingle and associate with people, being it socially. There are Sportvereine or sport academies here. You can go to the gym, you can engage in social activities whatsoever through associations and voluntary works, and I bet you will find yourself being a different person, also embracing and also getting to know something across your shores or the border of where you're coming from. Because I know for sure when I came here, I was a typical Ghanaian, but today I embrace both cultures, and I say I know how fully integrated I am into the German culture and system, and I know for sure that I also embrace my Ghanaian culture 100%. If you have these two core values, I bet you will find yourself right in every place you are at. So in that regard, I wish you all a splendid weekend. Enjoy the Saturday, enjoy the weekend, and see you all on my next show. This is your girl Nadia, and I brought the show Culture and Diversity your way today with the topic Culture Shock. Have a good day.